We're going to go through a time budget and produce this for 2019. What's missing here is the kind of challenge that some people will have in their process as they identify their time. I've already done the work to figure out what it is I want to do, the times that I have available, and how those will be structured. And I can actually show that to you on the screen, a scrap piece of paper with just some ideas about how I'm going to schedule different things, where pieces will go, how my time will kind of break up. And what is really key here is for me is really making sense of the timing of the day, making sure that I have free spaces. Of course, identifying those free spaces is what we talk about a lot in the life mapping process, but then making sure as I fill up my time that I'm giving myself time for those important things like lunch and breaks and making this schedule really realistic. The other piece for me was a revelation that in the vein of having the time and space, I think I'm going to cycle through with a different weekly schedule for the first 3 weeks. And then for the second or the fourth week of the month, I'm going to have a different schedule for that week. For those weeks or months with 5 weeks, I'll just have an open week on the fifth week as well. So that fourth and fifth week will be according to this alternative plan. So I'm going to walk you through the actual process and you'll be able to follow with me on the screen. And we're doing this on the first of the year, 2019. And the first thing I want to do, I already have some pieces in here. I want to adjust this based on what my reality is going to be for this new year. Number one is I'm moving from a 10 o'clock bedtime, or as it says there, a 9:30 bedtime to an 11 o'clock bedtime. And it just so happens that this does fit. I have my 5 o'clock wake time, and I'll see if I change that. I think I'm going to change that just slightly. What I'm really looking forward to is the 7 to 9 o'clock block. So I'm going to go ahead and delete, select all of those, and then delete these areas. I'm also going to go back through and change the coloring here for my, take out the colors, or actually that's white, no color would be taking out the color. But I know that 7 to 9 is going to be my time for a morning activity, and that's going to be Monday through Saturday. This is going to be production time. And I like to make the words pretty, so I'm going to do a nice calibri. Uppercase looks better. Yep, for me it looks better that way. I'm going to do a Control C and then just select all of these. Actually, Saturday is going to be left out. And Control V, and there's my production time. I also want to give my production time a color code, and I believe for this year production time is going to be yellow. Now, the next thing for me is to correct this wake time and inspiration. That time is going to be, actually I can leave that at 5 o'clock. And basically what I'm saying here is my wake time is 6 o'clock, or it's 5:30 to be ready to exercise at 6 o'clock, and have time to get my exercise and get dressed? Well, actually, in the context of making it really reasonable, that's actually not going to work. I do need to do something with this time because I can't get dressed and exercise because, well, with the caveat that I'd like to have an hour to exercise in the morning. That's kind of my new thing. So that is going to mean that I jump out of bed at 5 and get busy. That's my green light. So exercise is going to be in green. And then I'm going to take that 60 minutes to get dressed before I go into my production time. Notice I'm doing the weekdays first because I typically like to have my weekends have a little bit of variation in terms of how pieces go. Now, 9 o'clock to 5 is going to be work time, but my work is scheduled a bit different. I thankfully don't have a commute situation, so I can take those pieces out. I'm going to blank these cells in terms of color. And then I'm going to outline what I'd like to do during those times. What I typically have on Mondays is meetings. And for me, meet is going to also be a stand-in kind of indicator. And what that allows me to do is do different things during those times, but they all fit within a kind of meeting space. I'm going to do that from 9 to 12 on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, I've got a little bit of a different piece going on. Thursdays, and then 9 to 11 on Fridays is also meet. So notice it ends at this time. That top line is where it ends. So this one ends at 12, this one ends at 11. All right, let me continue with Monday. And from 11 to 2, I have something you may be familiar with called lunch. Gonna format that the way I need it to be with my uppercase as well. And I actually have that until 2 o'clock on that day. Now again, I'm not taking a 3-hour lunch here. What I'm really doing is making sure I do eat lunch, but then also having some space to do some other things, to kind of process different pieces. It is kind of like free time, but it's really identified so that I know that there's something I want to do there. I have a 2 o'clock to 4. I'm going to put that in. That is called max time. And this is training that I'll be doing, branded training. And that's 2 to 4. And then 4 to 5 is actually a free space. And I may nope. I thought maybe I'd put dinner there, but it's early, and that's one issue. Then there's some other things as well that I'd like to do there. Let me go ahead and take all of these out. I don't need to see those anymore at the moment. Link my pieces out there. So let me go down to my bedtime. I already know what that's going to be. Let me do a Control X and take those out. Bedtime is going to be at 11. And I did a Control V to paste that. I'm now going to go and get my color because it should be in white. That's why you can't see it. And there it is. Now I'm going to remove the color from that line again. Okay. So I've got my bookends, my wake time and my bedtime.